Hey, do you guys remember Frankie?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was, I was working out earlier, and it made me think of this. One time I was working out with Frankie. Have I told you guys this story?
I don't think so.
No.
Frankie works out.
He used to.
Fooled me.
Frankie is butch.
So we're working out. It's like a random weeknight. It's pretty busy at the gym. And between sets, Frankie gets a message on Instagram from someone that he doesn't follow, doesn't know this person. And the message is essentially like, hey, I think I am seeing you right now. Are you at the gym? And Frankie responds, yeah, do I know you? Who is this? He's like, no, I think we might have mutual friends, but I've seen you before. I have like a really like weird question for you. And Frankie's like, okay, what's up? And he's like, so I've seen you at the gym before. I'm kind of into you. Do you have any interest in selling your underwear? And Frankie's like, never done anything like that before. Like you just want my underwear that I'm wearing? And the person who's messaging him is like, yeah, like I'd be really interested in that if that's something you'd be willing to like part with. And Frankie thinks about it for a little while, and he's like asking me, he's like, what's a normal price for this type of thing? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. Just like start high and see what happens. So Frankie's like, all right, $100 and the underwear is all yours. This is all through message. And within 30 seconds, the person responds, absolutely yes.
Wow.
And Frankie's like,
Could have sold higher.
Frankie's like, oh shit, I guess I need to do this now. So they like message back and forth, and Frankie's essentially like, okay, like how do you want to get these from me? And the guy's like, oh, just meet me in the locker room. Like I'll like in the next like half an hour. I'm here still. And Frankie's like, okay, man. So he goes down to the locker room, goes into one of the like single stalls, takes off his underwear,
He
and then
didn't
he's
want a chaperone.
I mean, that would be a good idea.
and then they agreed to like meet in the locker room. This exchange took place. I guess he just gave him his Venmo information and just Venmoed him $100 on the spot. And Frankie went on his way without underwear back from the gym. And yeah, that's one of my favorite Jim Frankie stories.
Who needs underwear when you have a $100 bill cradling your balls?
Yeah, I didn't ask. I wonder if there was like an agreement they made, like once a month. It could be like a subscription type situation.
Right?
Yeah.
Easy money.
Well, I'll raise a glass to that. To Frankie, to whom $100 is $100.
To $100.
$100. Sorry, now do I state the lyric?
Oh, no, you save that for the end of the game.
Ooh, all right, it's a secret.
Yeah, you'll pass that.
Yep.
Your finished lyric on to Cass for my story time.
Okay.
All right,
And
so.
I'll pass this to you, although you don't have to do anything this turn.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm doing the cadence. Cass, you're doing the lyric.
And I don't know if
Got
we
it.
discussed this when I was downstairs, because Cass has started gendering Frankie. Frankie is going to be a him
Yes.
in this one? Okay. All right, well, you know, I actually met Frankie in college. I don't know if any of you knew him back in those days, but I used to work at the Lego store. And this was a busy Christmas. And you know who came in? Bono from U2. And he's wearing his fucking rose glasses, absolute nonsense. And like, throughout the entire day, everyone's like, oh, Bono's here. And all these middle-aged women would come up to him, oh my God, your music means so much to me. And these giant dudes that are protecting Bono are like, oh, he's busy, you know, pushing them aside.
Back off.
By your feelings.
And he was obnoxious, but I was in charge of every time he would pick something out, I would take the box behind the counter so I could check him out later. Mm-hmm. And so I'm checking him out at the end after, you know, he buys 4 or 5 big boxes of Legos. And of course, he doesn't pay for it. His assistant, very pretty young woman, comes and pays for it. And on his way out across the checkout sort of aisle there, Bono takes his glasses down and he looks at me, Sean Hildner, and says, "Oi, thanks, man." And I was like, fuck, I don't like you too, but that was pretty cool. All right, so I had to tell that story in order to tell this story.
I was like, where does Frankie play into
Later
this?
that day, Frankie comes in and he was shopping for his kid. And this is like busy Christmas time kind of stuff. And we just had the new Viking stuff out. And Frankie comes in, introduces himself. Oh, hey, I'm Frankie. Like, oh, I'm Sean. Nice to meet you. Listen, my kid really wants the new Viking warship. Do you have that? I'm like, Frankie, you are not going to believe this. Bono from U2 bought the last one. And in the most crowded Lego store, Frankie looks at me, dead serious, and says, well, I bet he's going to give us some fucking kid in Africa. Every single mother in that store turns around. You can't say that. And he walked out in a huff.
Frankie.
Damn,
No
Frankie.
control.
God damn.
He said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, he really did.
That's what he meant to mumble on his way out the door.
Yeah, right. Not shout in the middle of the Lego store on mission.
He really needed that Viking ship, though.
I don't remember Frankie's relationship with his kid, but it really felt like he forgot to buy a Christmas gift, and this is a last-minute thing.
100%. 100%.
I raise my glass to Frankie, the town crier we never asked for.
Cheers.
To Frankie.
In high school, I think he was his senior year. I was my junior. In those years, we were kind of carpooling our friends to and from school. We would have 2 or 3 separate cars, and we would all kind of like hang out beforehand and like drive each other home. And I remember at that time, my parents absolutely hated Frankie. They thought he was such a bad influence on me. He introduced me to death metal, and he was, we would invite him to parties, and he'd curse like a pirate, and
This all checks out.
But I remember this one time, my parents bought this brand new car. It was like the Subaru Outback, like the ones with the white tops and the black bottoms.
Sure.
Remember those? They were being really nice and letting me use it to kind of carpool everyone to and from school. And I remember one time I was driving some of my friends, and Frankie was in the other car behind us. And I remember coming to a stop sign, and they were right behind us, and I slowed down to a stop and was waiting for traffic to pass. And in my rearview mirror, I see this glint of light, and I see that it's Frankie. He just started bolting out of the car from behind me, and he jumped in front of our car that's parked, and he jumped at the windshield, but did this like 180 while pulling his pants down, ass first. So his ass like landed on the windshield and like smushed up against it. Those years he just took his pants off all the time. But he got off the windshield. He noticed that none of us were looking at him. When his butt hit the windshield, there's a crack from corner to corner from where his ass was, just all the way across. Oh. Frankie looked back. He saw the giant crack and then ran back to the car, and they drove off. And so here I was left with this brand new car from my parents with a giant crack in the windshield. A couple days later, my dad and I were going to take the car to the shop, and he was so pissed, and it was so quiet when we got in that car. He got in the driver's seat, I got in the passenger seat, and it was just dead silent. And the only thing that broke the silence was my dad just pointing at the windshield, and he goes, I see where Frankie hit the windshield. And there were 2 like butt prints in the middle of the windshield that we just drove quietly to the garage with his butt prints just like staring at us. Yeah, he definitely left his mark. So.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, to Frankie and his windshield cracking badonkadonk.
Badonk.
So I have known Frankie for a really long time, like childhood friends, really long time. Like our moms know each other, it's a whole thing. Once when we were little kids, I mean, we were like 5 or 6. I don't have many other memories from this time, but I do remember this. We went to a pumpkin patch, and this pumpkin patch was baller. It was like, I can still remember this pumpkin patch. It was called like Powers Farms, or yeah, it was Powers. I can still remember it. And they had everything, man. They had like hay rides and corn mazes and like pick your own pumpkins and like horse buggy rides and like face painting. And they also had this really cool like play area that was made up of a bunch of bales of hay stacked on top of each other in different ways that made like basically like a giant like ant hill made of hay bales
for
little kids.
That sounds awesome.
It was sick. So we're there all day with our moms, me and Frankie, and you know, the moms are being like a little like, we're there to pick pumpkins, right? We're there to pick pumpkins, to like drink a little apple cider, and you know, and they wouldn't let us get our faces painted, and that was a bummer.
Oof.
Yeah, and the only time we were allowed to go on the horse buggy ride was when you're going out to pick your pumpkins. So, but we're hanging out there because there's like other stuff to do, and so we're at this like giant anthill palace of hay bales with all its little nooks and crannies, and like there's just a ton of little kids, right? And all the parents are like sitting on the hay bales that are around it, like watching and talking. And so like Frankie and I are like in hay bales, going through all the tunnels, climbing shit, like high-fiving other kids as we're passing. And I come out of some of these tunnels were like very narrow as well, so like you get like two little kids in there. One, he's got to like back your little ass up, and the other one's got to like go through, or you have to like climb upwards. It's like really crazy. So I am getting like a little claustrophobic, and I climb out one of the other ends and like go to our moms, and I'm like, you know, trying to get them to get me another like glass of apple cider, like whatever. And it's been a while. And, like, Frankie is nowhere to be found, right? So our moms start looking for him. They're, like, getting ready to go. They're, like, sick of my bullshit, sick of us asking for stuff. So we're looking for him. We can't find him. So, like, Frankie's mom is, like, fully freaking out at this point. You see, like, all these little kids going in and out, all going to their parents and stuff, and we can't find Frankie. And I'm, like, back in the tunnels looking for Frankie, can't find Frankie.
Ah,
shit. So at that point, the moms are freaking out, and they go and tell like someone that works at the farm, like, hey, I can't find my kid. The last place where he was in the like hay bale maze. Right. And so you start seeing like all these adults just like they like think he's stuck in there. So they're like ripping the hay bales like
oh my
off
God.
of this hay bale mountain, and everyone's freaking out. And and like, you know, they're looking for a kid. They're looking for a missing kid. So like everything's just like shutting down. Eventually, and I'm like crying because I don't know where Frankie is. And eventually this like old woman who has her face painted like a pumpkin brings Frankie over to us and is like, is this the little boy that was missing? And his mom is like crying. He's like, oh my God, Frankie, where were you? Where were you? Turns out Frankie had he went out the other side of the hay bales.
He solved the puzzle.
He went out, went to the horse buggy, tried to get on that, and they were like, where are your parents? And he was like, bye. Like, cops.
Who's asking?
And then he went over to try and get this old woman to paint his face, and she again is like, do you have money? He's like, no. It's like, do you have like little tickets? Because they have like little carnival tickets you can buy to like do the various stuff. And he's like, no. She's like, where are your parents? And he's like, I don't know. So, the entire farm got shut down. The beautiful hay bale mountain was torn apart, all because Frankie slipped out the other side and just wanted to get his face painted.
I like that you lost Frankie because he solved the maze and got out.
He like was doing his own thing. Like
good.
He solved the mystery, man.
That's amazing.
Well, to Frankie, the only thing scarier than child abduction is Frankie's bad attitude.
To Frankie. Glad he got found. Let's see. We'll begin the coda. So, in turn order, players can now read their individual lyrics aloud. The group will then discuss and analyze Frankie's life events. Together, the players will formulate a final lyric that constructs a sentiment about his way of life or personality. So, starting in turn order, whoever was the first lyricist, which was Meg, can read it out loud, and we'll put it all together.
All right. Commando, a business transaction between gentlemen.
Bono buys and Frankie cries. He still hasn't found what he's looking for.
Wow. Frankie's
really
off the
proud of
chain in his Subaru. The pale moon saw 2 cracks that night.
I feel like we should be snapping.
An autumn pumpkin, once lost but burdened to be found. All right, so let's having a kind of put together who Frankie is based on these stories and lyrics. If you guys want to help me put this in chronological order, because I know Meg's story takes place when you guys are kids.
Got lost in a pumpkin patch. That's a early formative experience.
Very.
Mine was
very
when we were in
core
high
memory.
school, and I think Sean, yours was in
Mine was
college.
College.
Right.
Well, he was older. I was in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So,
Do you know, was he wearing underwear when you saw him?
I didn't check. I didn't check. I'm guessing he was later than your story, though.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, that's right, because he had kids at that point.
He had at least one that
You can't be selling
he
your
was a
underwear. once you
deadbeat
have kids.
dad.
That he says.
Or maybe you're selling more underwear once you have kids.
How are you going to afford a Viking warship without selling a couple panties? All right, bud.
That's a good point.
It's like he was born from a young age. He was born to form his own path, primarily with less clothing. It seems.
Right.
Maybe clothing was the metaphorical restriction that he saw.
That can be the last lyric, clothing, a metaphorical restriction. What did you say?
I don't know. You guys help me out. What do you think would be the last line to kind of like sum it all up?
The only thing that ever held him back was clothing. What would be the last line? I mean, Frankie gave no fucks.
No, he really
Like this is the theme.
Yeah, whether he was acting out physically or verbally, it's almost as if he couldn't control himself.
Almost. Except
Almost.
he definitely couldn't
He
control himself.
100% chose to do these things.
Yeah, he died like he lived, unclothed and uncontrolled.
Unchained.
Oh, I like that.
Unchained.
Unclothed and unchained.
I like that.
Is that good with all of you?
I'm very happy with it.
We can even make them as two separate lines, so we can do unclothed, new line, unchained.
That's a good poem right there.
So now that we've recorded the final lyric,
Corey does.
we can speak the words.
Megan probably does.
Give voice to Frankie's legacy.
In the stylings of Tom Waits.
You can read it however you like. You can read it as you can read it like as yourself as a poem, or you can read it in a Tom Waits voice, and I'll try to dub in music or something.
I don't have a good enough Tom Waits voice. You want this?
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. That sounds great.
Commando, a business transaction between gentlemen. Good luck cutting this together, bud. That wasn't a very
Love
good
it.
Tom Waits.
Perfect. It was good.
Do you want a normal reading too, or are you good with that?
Yeah, we'll do a normal rating. Just
Commando, a business transaction between gentlemen. Bono buys and Frankie cries. He still hasn't found what he's looking for. Frankie's off, the chain in his Subaru. The pale moon saw 2 cracks that night. An autumn pumpkin, once lost, but burdened to be found. He died like he lived, unclothed, unchained.
Oh, that was beautiful, Megan. Damn. We're definitely not using mine.
well, that concludes our game of Frankie. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, that was fun.
It's such a good game, Roderick. I actually really have a good time playing this.
Awesome. I'm really glad.